Welcome to ZIA TV, covering small cap stocks and emerging companies. Today we're speaking with the president and CEO of Oncolytics, Dr. Matt Coffey. Matt, tell us a little bit about Oncolytics and the drug Real-Lysin.
Oncolytics itself is a development company now just entering into phase 3 of clinical testing that's really looking to exploit or use naturally occurring viruses to unmask tumor cells to the immune system. And what this is referred to is an immuno-oncolytic virus. The specific product that we're moving into a phase 3 study in metastatic breast cancer is called Real-Lysin. It's a naturally occurring, unmodified virus, so it's something that they can use very easily in the hospital setting. And we apply it intravenously in conjunction with chemotherapy, which weakens the tumor cells in these patients with breast cancer. So the virus will travel through the blood, will begin replicating in these sites of metastatic disease. And through this infection process, we see replication of virus, which then starts to send chemical signals into the body, which really alert the immune system. The first of these is the innate immune system. So as the virus replicates, we get a release of chemical signals called chemokines and cytokines, which increase populations of natural killer cells, which are an uneducated, really fast-reacting immune system. So these are drawn to the tumor, and in turn, they begin killing the virally infected cells. And in so doing, they release a lot of components of the tumor that have not been exposed to the immune system before. This is important because this then triggers the adaptive immune response. And most people would be familiar with your adaptive immune response when they go for vaccination. So when you get exposed to flu influenza, you develop long-term memory cells that recognize what these threats look like. So here what we get is an increase in tumor infiltrates or immune cells into the tumor, which then start actively killing the tumor cells. And what we get then is long-term immunity against these tumors, which results in improvements in overall survival. The effect is so pronounced that in animals that we've cured of their disease, we're actually unable to re-challenge the animals with these tumors. They'll actually reject it. And we can actually take animals that have been cured, take their immune cells, give these to naive animals, and they in turn will reject the tumor challenge that the first animal was exposed to. Now, recently, back in April of this year, we announced that through one of our cooperative groups, initially called the National Cancer Institute of Canada, now CCTG, they put out some information demonstrating women with late-stage breast cancer saw a 7-month improvement in their overall survival, moving it from 10 months to 17 and a half. So a very dramatic improvement in their overall survival. And importantly, about a third of those patients are still alive at the time of that look at the information. Last week, we announced actually a subgroup, those patients who have hormone receptor positive disease, had a much better outcome. And what we actually saw there was a doubling of overall survival in this patient population. This week, we actually have talked about our end of phase 2 meeting with the FDA, which supports movement into a phase 3 study, as well as we've just received fast track designation to move this agent into the metastatic breast cancer setting, which affects yearly 115,000 women every year. So it's a devastating disease, and I think we have an important role to play in hopefully extending the lives of these patients.
So is what you've just outlined for us one of the main cancer indications that you're seeing opportunity in?
It is. We ran a number of cooperative studies to really see where the virus was working well, and we've seen good activity in multiple myeloma. We've seen nice activity in pancreatic cancer, where we saw a doubling in 2-year survival. But the breast cancer results really took us by surprise with the longevity of the patients. There was no side effect increases in these patients, and the fact that the patients were doing so well even at the interim analysis. And this is really why we focused the company on breast cancer. About a year ago, the company and the board really took a hard reset, made changes in management, changes in leadership, and all of this was with an aim to really focus the company into a situation where we'd be seeing commercialization of the agent. And the path that we picked was breast cancer. So the company very much is focused first and foremost in developing this for patients with metastatic breast cancer, also called stage 4. In behind this, we are collaborating. We announced a collaboration with Celgene and Myeloma UK to investigate the agents with other types of immune interventions. And we've recently completed a study with an immune checkpoint inhibitor where we saw some quite impressive results. But the focus for the company over the near term really will be getting this phase 3 breast cancer study approved as we learn more about the agent and as we move towards commercialization and hopefully profitability of the company.
Tell us a little bit about both your clinical and capital markets goals for the fourth quarter and maybe even into 2018.
It's hard to hedge yourself into a quarter, but clinically, we're now speaking with key opinion leaders, regulatory authorities to make sure they're in line with what the FDA has agreed to in the end of phase 2 meeting, potential corporate partners. We're really where we'd like to see ourselves positioned over this next couple of quarters is in getting the regulatory approvals to be able to initiate a phase 3 study globally by the middle of next year. From the capital markets perspective, the company really is trying to get on a footing where we could move towards a NASDAQ listing as soon as is possible to really capitalize on the American markets. We are currently traded on the TSX, and the goal would really be to get back on the NASDAQ so that we could capture, potentially 300 million investors that really aren't active in the stock right now, and to move to a valuation we think that's more reflective of the technology. In behind this, we're moving the company down the road with both regional and global corporate partners that we think can help develop this agent, not only in the metastatic breast cancer setting, but also hopefully in the neoadjuvant, which is a much broader market opportunity in breast, but also to expand the franchise into immuno-oncology combinations like we're doing with Celgene in the IMiDs market, but beyond that as well, I'm moving into immune checkpoint inhibitors. So it's going to be a busy couple of quarters for the company.
So does all of that pretty much outline what your clinical development goals are beyond 2018 and metastatic breast cancer?
I think you very much so. The focus will be the metastatic breast cancer. We've been approached by a number of cooperative groups that would like to see it used earlier in the setting to prevent metastatic disease. It seems that the agent, the virus itself, because it behaves like a cell, it's a particle, it tracks to sites of metastatic disease. And we think this is why in the breast cancer setting it was so effective, because we were looking at patients who predominant disease was metastatic disease. In the neoadjuvant setting, the thinking would be to prevent the metastasis from ever occurring. So our focus will be to capitalize on the successes we had in the randomized phase 2, but to broaden that as well as to work with corporate partners so that we can non-dilutively move the agent beyond chemotherapies and into the more modern era of immuno-oncology agents like IMiDs and immune checkpoint inhibitors.
Any other upcoming news for the company that you'd like to share at this point?
A lot of it will be maturation of the data. We're hoping to talk more about the evolving overall survival in these patients. As I said, at the time of the analysis, close to a third of the patients on the test arm were still alive. So we were seeing the long-term benefit that I think will hopefully continue in these patients, which will hopefully improve the overall survival and the hazard ratio in this patient population. So we'll be presenting presentations in the fall. But generally also hoping to move into a number of collaborations with large pharma to expand into new areas. And it'll be a busy time for us and one we're excited to be moving into.
All very interesting. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Terry, I want to say thank you for having us, and thanks to all the ZAC investors for listening. Have a great day.
And thank you for joining us on ZIA TV. You can read more in-depth coverage of Oncolytics at scr.zax.com.